Welcome to Wonderful World of Darklords. I'm Tom.
I'm Rachel.
And we're discussing how to convert Disney movies to Ravenloft Domains of Dread. We just started our third season and we got over 20 Disney domains covering all ages of Disney, from Sleeping Beauty to Beauty and the Beast to Frozen. Elsa's the Darklord in that one. This is an unusual episode for us for three reasons.
Yeah, so first off, it's a live-action movie. We don't usually do those. Our typical oeuvre is the animated movies, but every now and then we do a live-action one, and then this summer in particular we're doing live-action ones because it is our summer blockbuster season, and we are doing the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise as a Ravenloft Domain for our July episode. Our other summer blockbuster entries were we did Holes in June, and then in August, we don't want to spoil it, but we are going to be doing a very weird domain. Very weird, based on an 80s cult classic.
The second reason it's unusual for us is on the wrong day. Mm-hmm. We are a monthly podcast, and other than a couple bonus episodes, like we always release one on October 31st, it's always the 13th of every month. So we are preparing this episode, been planning it for a while, and the plan was to release it on July 13th, which still is the plan.
Yes.
But I saw the Ginny D video about the Kraken Week, and my goodness, the perfect timing of a week of D&D tabletop creators making stuff about the ocean and about the sea and about the Kraken, and we were already done the first go of recording on a literal Kraken affiliated Ravenloft Darklord domain.
But it was going to be a week too late!
Yes!
We were on schedule.
Which leads us to the third way this is an unusual episode for us. This is incomplete.
Yes. So this is just one section of our podcast episode. If you go and look at our podcasts on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or your podcatcher of choice, you will see that our average podcast episode is like 2 sassafras an hour long.
Not 20 minutes.
Not 20 minutes. We were not going to do that to y'all. So we decided that in this case, we were going to do just one section of the episode, the section where we talk about the Darklord of the domain, who in this case is Davy Jones. We're still finishing up that full 2-hour episode, and again, we also didn't want to make you guys have to sit through 2 hours while you just want to get to the next thing on the playlist. 20 minutes is a much more reasonable ask. So we're going to drop the full episode on July 13th. In the meantime, this is a nice little sneak preview. And then on the 13th, you can get a breakdown of important setting locations, adventure hooks to get the PCs to the domain in the first place. The domain is called Davy Jones Locker. Story ideas for adventures in the domain. Alternate takes of the domain with different Darklords. If you want to do a Pirates domain with a Jack Sparrow or Barbossa or Cutler Beckett as your Darklord, we're going to have you covered there too. That's why these things are 2 hours long.
Yeah.
And that full episode is going to show up on this YouTube channel. It's going to show up on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, your podcatcher of choice. Our post is Red Circle if you want to go and track us down directly. That's where we are. We also do a free domain write-up every month on dmsguild, which will be available on July 13th. We're going to put the link in the show notes. And if you listen to this and you absolutely cannot wait for our take on a nautical Ravenloft domain in all its glory, you can go back and listen to our episode 7, which was Treasure Planet.
Yes, you can. Until then, please enjoy our discussion of Davy Jones as a Darklord in a section we like to call
The Lord.
It's Davy Jones.
It's Davy Jones.
Davy Jones, he's so great.
He's so great.
And yeah,
That was Toby the Tiger.
he's great. No, he is so great, and he's so perfect as a Darklord. If you guessed something else, once again, as we said, don't be surprised. There are a ton of options in this franchise.
We're going to talk about a whole bunch of other people when we get to AUs, and believe me, we thought about Barbossa.
Yes, but we picked Davy Jones just because we think of all of these amazing possibilities, he's the most amazing possibility. Because we believe he's the one that kind of best fits our criteria of what makes a good Darklord.
He must deserve criteria for what makes a good Darklord, and as we'll talk about when we discuss why we didn't pick Barbossa and some of the other ones, he has kind of a broader skill.
Yes.
Which I guess, does tie into our fourth quality.
Yes. So judging by the blockbusting box office grosses of this actual blockbuster franchise. You know who Davy Jones is. Most of America seems to, based on ticket sales.
Yes.
But they may not know what a Darklord is. So, Rachel, what is a Darklord?
Well, a Darklord is an evil being who commits some kind of act of ultimate darkness that causes the dark powers to say, why, hello, new friend, we want to play with you forever. And so they pluck that evil being up and they place them in a special hell tailor-made just for them. There are some really great Darklords. There are some Darklords who are necromancers who can't do new spells and yet are lords of the Nocturnal Sea. So we're going to discuss what separates the Strahd von Zarovich from the Meridoths.
Ropes. Reference.
Well, it's fine to have him be a Darklord of an island in the Nocturnal Sea, but why is he the Darklord of a sea? Anyway, so the first element is that act of ultimate darkness. And in Strahd's case, it was killing his brother because he wanted to get with his brother's fiancée. It's like a specific evil thing they do not, becoming Darklord by attrition. The second element is what they call in Veneration Guide to Ravenloft the Torment, because we're a Disney podcast, we call it they got what they wanted, they lost what they had. And in Strahd's case, it's congratulations, your brother is out of the way, you have eternal youth, so you're not too old for Tatiana, but you're too Strahd for Tatiana, and you always will be. Our third element is an element of tragedy or relatability. They're not just evil for the sake of being evil, there's something about them that makes us wince in sympathy. And in Strahd's case, as we're going to be hearing more about with Davy Jones, unrequited love sucks.
It does, yeah.
Although it's a different kind of unrequited love, as we will discuss. And then the fourth element that Meridoth does not have is that the domain reflects the Darklord and their curse in some way. Strahd is not an evil wizard who rules over an ocean domain. He is a spooky vampire who rules over spooky vampire Transylvania. And the domain also reflects his curse of that loneliness. It's a boring mud slump because not only is he lonely because he's missing Tatiana, but also there's not any intellectual equal that lives there. So even if he did get over Tatiana, there'd be nobody for him to get over her with.
With some of these Darklords we're adapting, we have to kind of go and like tweak the backstory, change the what specifically they did, make it worse, make it not just straight movie canon. We have these kind of...
It's just like Scar.
Yeah, no, this is just, right out of the box. It's sort of a mix of kind of three things. But the nice for us is those three things are all sort of connected. And you can kind of sum them up as this like overall movement, this overall action and choice he's making as this act of ultimate darkness.
Which Darklord was it that we described as having a weekend of ultimate darkness? It was one of our previous...
Maybe Ernesto de la Cruz.
It might have been Ernesto.
Yeah, somebody had a weekend. But yeah, Davy Jones had a weekend of ultimate darkness. But you know, it's not a light switch. It could be a couple of steps. Like Strahd turned into a vampire, like killed a bunch of people, then turned into a vampire.
You made a pact of darkness. Yeah.
Made a pact of darkness, killed people. It's like that. So what we're imagining is it's all connected. We're going to keep saying with the sort of relationship with Calypso. So the sort of first act of ultimate darkness is the being so hurt that she wasn't there for him, that she kind of abandoned him in his understanding, that he betrayed her to the Brethren Court, that he told them how to bind her in mortal form so then they would have more mastery of the sea. And then we have this other action, which is like technically a separate action, but not really. On the emotional level, no, it's not. It's the cutting out his heart.
Yeah.
That he cut out his heart and put it in the dead man's chest so that he wouldn't feel.
And that's even actually, think about that's kind of him doing the Darklord double down, because it's not that he cut out his... Will had that line about after which betrayal did you cut out your...
Exactly, yeah.
And it was he didn't want to feel remorse over what he did with Calypso, because he was doing the Darklord double down.
Yes, and then we have the sort of triple down, in this case, the rare, beautiful Darklord triple down, which is then there's also the turning his back. Like in that same moment, in that same emotional action, he turns his back on his responsibilities as Captain of the Flying Dutchman. He stops bringing the souls of people that died at sea over to the other side. And so this isn't just a personal thing, and this isn't just like you're getting revenge on your shiftless girlfriend. This is like you are messing up the entire world. Like you are choosing to condemn thousands of people to oceanic limbo.
Because you can't get over your breakup.
Right, yes, because you're too emo to do your job. So that's all. Like, that's all the movie. We didn't add any of that. Like, that's all the movie, and we're just sort of taking those, like, kind of 3 specific, technically wrong actions and kind of combining them into a weekend of ultimate darkness. And then when he's finished that process, the mists rise up around this domain, and he has a new job, which he can't not do, which is being Darklord of Ravenloft.
Good job, buddy. Good job.
Or, since we're a Disney podcast, they got what they wanted, they lost what they had. You know what? You don't have a heart, but you still hurts. It didn't actually help. Like,
no, it did help, and he's gonna prove.
Yeah, right. I'm gonna prove how much I don't care by, like, staring pensively at that locket and jamming out on the organ as I pour all my feels. Yeah, playing our song on the organ. Yeah, that's how over her I am. Yeah, just over.
Picking it out on his guitar in his room,
and just like clicking the little like green circle with the 1 above it for like hours. Our song, 10 hours on YouTube. Yeah, you know, that's how over you are. You're just playing your song over and over again, staring at the locket that represents your love. And it still hurts. Like, he still misses her. He still loves her. He still feels intense pain and guilt when he thinks about her. And
like, isn't this a cute because it's her son? Yeah. He's not shedding tears like he does when Beckett brings it in Ray's.
So great.
So good. But he like feels the absence of her in his heart.
And also we have kind of another element of that, which is the whole taking his heart out. It means anyone who finds his heart has sovereignty over him, like, rules over him, is his master. You know, Beckett gets the heart and is his master. If Jack got the heart, he'd be his master. And the whole point of this is he wanted sovereignty over himself. He wanted nobody to have control over him, but now anybody can have control over him. And connected with that is that whole, I'm going to show you how much of a heart I don't have. You really get the impression, like watching all the stuff with the Dutchman, that, and I love this, that he's just being cruel for the sake of cruelty.
Yeah.
Right? You know, you have that when he's asking the people if they want to join. One says, you're cruel. And he says, which will come up later, life is cruel. Why should the afterlife be different?
Yeah. Or that making bootstrap whip will for funsies.
Yes. Just because cruelty.
Because either he's going to make him whip his own son, or he's going to make him stand back and watch while somebody cleaves flesh from bone in every swing. Either way, it's funny.
And this is just like the Dutchman is so horrible, and he's making it hard. Doesn't need to be this horrible. You know, we see that when Will takes over. You have the kind of all the sea stuff falling off them. They're being human again. And you get this impression of like, oh, it's going to be different now.
The Dutchman could be a cruel and groovy place.
Yes. We all treat each other fair. Could be cool and groovy. The Flying Dutchman. Now cool and groovy. And yeah, I love you had the observation, like, this is basically like hell. But this is just everybody hates each other, and everybody just tries to get enough power to push the other guy around, and the only sort of pleasure is the pleasure of like bullying and cruelty. And once again, he's kind of like putting on a facade here to show how mean he is and how little he cares and how he doesn't have a heart.
Could someone with a heart do all this?
Could say, if I had a heart, could I be so mean to my crew? And this also has this, he has no loyalty, he has no fellowship with the crew. He wants relationships he can control. Like, the only relationship is this, I can punish you, I can hurt you, I can be sadistic to you if you don't make me happy, if you don't do what I say. So there's a bit where like they take the heart on the island. It's the cool 3-way like fight wheel scene. And he's sending the crew and he's saying, I can't go on the island because I can't touch land. So go get the heart and bring it back. And then one of the crew is like, you can trust us, Captain. And he's like, I can trust you to know what you'll get if you don't. Like, he can't like call on any kind of loyalty or fellowship.
Yeah. As opposed to like, you know, even with Barbossa, like, it's not like we see him being chummy with the crew. And, you know, he does, like, they try to mutiny at the one point, and he does clearly, like, he does rule through fear because he's a pirate. But you don't get the sense that they all hate each other.
Right.
The Dutchman.
And he's not being cruel for the sake of cruelty. Like, you're always, whenever Barbossa's cruel to his crew, there's, like, a purpose. He's pushing back. You know, they challenged him, he's pushing back, or he's trying to accomplish something or get them to do something. But it's never just for lulz.
Yeah.
And I think this is part of the story where it is actually paralleling Jack Sparrow and his whole arc of the series.
Who was another candidate for Darklord. We'll get
But
to him.
Basically, that whole, the problem of being totally independent, not having any attachments or anyone holding you down or any, like, connection is then you don't have those things. You're alone.
Yeah.
And then we have element of tragedy and relatability, and that is, to quote Rachel earlier, unrequited love sucks.
Yeah.
And, like, this isn't full on unrequited, but, like, having a broken heart. That she did betray him. She did, stand him up.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and this was their one chance in a decade to kind of be together. And she stood him up.
And if you've never had a breakup that makes you want to be too emo to go to work and just sit in your room and play your song with your face, I am so jealous.
Yeah, good for you.
Yeah,
you've had it pretty good. You've had it pretty good. And there's kind of the levels of that sympathy. Because once again, even if, lucky you haven't had your heart broken, I feel like everyone can imagine having their heart broken.
Yeah.
And we can imagine, number one, the desire to cut out our heart. The desire to say, I would rather be numb and feel no joy and no happiness if I could take this pain out of me, if I could stop feeling this pain. Also, we understand the lashing out, right?
Yes.
Like, even if you haven't, I hope you can empathize and imagine I'm going to make my breakup literally everyone's problem.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to, like, mess up the world and that'll show her. I am going to... Everyone's going to suffer because my heart got broken.
Yeah.
So finally, we have this domain reflecting the Darklord's personality or curse. It's the ocean.
Yeah.
I am the sea. Like there you go. We have, all of them have the pirate thematic connections. Like all of our potential Darklords pretty much. You could bring in some of this connection idea of pirates. This is a domain of piracy. That's sort of the major aesthetic of the domain, the main theme of the domain. We also here have, like, the curse, and we'll touch on this a little more, but it's a big element in this series, in this franchise, and he has this curse, but that there's a sense that, like, the heart, Davy Jones and the heart is kind of the curse. It's kind of the ultimate curse, and the heart is kind of the ultimate MacGuffin, because it's this sort of the ultimate force of the sea, the ultimate power of the sea. And one other theme we have that has that kind of freedom versus control. And, all the movies, there's the pirates, and then there's sort of the cops, the ocean cops, who kind of represent control and order and society and stability. And then the pirates who represent kind of freedom and anarchy and self-determination. And Davy Jones is kind of here an anti-cop pirate.
He's kind of the worst of both.
Yeah, exactly.
Because he's like a real pirate.
Yeah.
Like he's not a fun-loving swashbuckler.
Not a fun animatronic with a buckle.
Yeah, he is a terrible person who wants anarchy with him in control.
Yes. Like who rules through sadism, who rules through cruelty, who binds people, who follows these very legalistic contracts.
I could even explain the whole, Brethren Court parlay code legalistic pirate nonsense.
Yes. That there's sort of that themes, and this is the kind of inner cutting of the pirates and the order and chaos and pirates and control, and this is sort of trying to reach that kind of balance between chaos and order. But Davy Jones is just sort of anarchy with control.
Yeah. So he's kind of the worst of both worlds. You have like Jack Sparrow and Beckett as the two different sides of him. That one is the very cold, heartless, legalistic, controlling, and the other one being the footloose, fancy-free, I've got no strings on.
Right, yeah. No heart, basically.
No heart, yeah. Both heartless in their own way.
Yeah. So, in terms of statting out Davy Jones, using him as a domain lord, normally we like to use the base stats from the core monster manual, but that's not going to work in this, because we kind of mentioned there's a lack of some social stuff, and there is just such a perfect base stat block to use. The Drowned Master from Saltmarsh, from Ghost of Saltmarsh. This is literally a drowned, rotting pirate captain with tentacles. Like, he already has a default, like, tentacle attack.
Yeah.
And a control, like, psychic connection to his drowned, rotting, undead pirate crew. So,
part of the ship.
Part of the crew. In terms of special powers as a Darklord, we have a couple options here. A lot of it, he has a lot. There's a lot.
Yeah. This is one where we're giving him a ton of extra powers because Davy Jones is a monster in every possible sense of the word.
And the sort of tricky thing here is to kind of not just be like, and this, and not just list a dozen powers. So we tried to put these in a kind of a way they would flow coherently and be trackable.
Yeah, a lot of it links to the black spot.
yes, that's in the Disney. In terms of special powers as a Darklord, we have a couple options here. A lot of it, he has a lot. There's a lot.
Yeah. This is one where we're giving him a ton of extra powers because Davy Jones is a monster in every possible sense of the word.
And the sort of tricky thing here is to kind of not just be like, and this, and not just list a dozen powers. So we tried to put these in a kind of a way they would flow coherently and be trackable.
Yeah, a lot of it links to the black spot.
yes, that's in the Disney Sorcerer's Arena board game. That's like a lot of his stuff is black spot.
Ah, cool.
He can like basically summon minions, and he can like curse people and then like control them. And, So we start with the idea that he's this, as we mentioned, a legalistic monster. So we have this ability that he can make contracts with people. He can make deals with people. And this is like some of our other Darklords with contract powers. He is as bound by them, like Hades, like Dr. Vasilier. He is as bound by the specific details, by the wording of the contract as they are.
Yeah.
Like they have to follow him. He has to follow them.
Yeah.
We have the scene with the dice game in Dead Man's Chest and the whole like, you totally get, if Will had won, he would have had to give him the key.
Yeah.
Like he has no choice. He made a deal to play for this key. If he had lost, he would have to take it. And the same thing with, if Will had lost, he would have owed Davy Jones his immortal soul.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't sign any paperwork or anything, but it just, no, he said, I am betting, staking my soul, so he'd have to.
There's a deleted scene where they play another round before that one, where Will successfully gambles for his father's freedom. So, his father jumping in and, saying that he's offering up his soul is even more of a thing because he just won his freedom. And Will wins and Davy Jones is like, okay.
Yeah, exactly. All right, yeah. And even, Will can leave. Like, Will can just get in a boat and row away because he's bought his freedom, because Davy Jones doesn't have his soul. And he said, you are welcome to leave next time you make port.
Yeah.
One of those contracts, a very important key of this, is the black spot. That if someone makes a contract to serve him, like Jack does, then when that time is up, whatever it is, even not like legalistic, like, but did you not call yourself?
Oh, that was so great. That was just so great.
And then you were a bad captain. Then they get manifest the black spot, and this is kind of his mystical connection, his sort of mystical stamp on them.
Sort of his Eye of Basilisk, if you will.
Yes, this binds them to the Flying Dutchman. This lets him track them. This lets him do the Kraken or the Locker. He can unleash the Kraken for stat block use, Kraken, and he can summon it, and when it's unleashed, it targets the black spot. This lets him teleport him and his crew into the proximity of anyone with the black spot. So we have that scene where they're watching with the spyglass when they've sent Will to him to settle his debts, and Davy Jones and the crew just appear on the Black Pearl. And I don't think we ever see him teleport in any other context except to Jack.
Yeah.
Because he has the black spot. The ship is another superpower, basically. It's super powerful. It has Gatling gun cannons somehow.
Because it's
awesome. It is super fast. It can go underwater. And the crew is absolutely loyal by fear. He cannot be killed unless you stab his heart. He could be restrained, he could be buried, he could be dropped in the ocean, you could do a bunch of stuff to him, but he does not get to 0 hit points unless you stab his heart.
In which case you become captain of the Dutchman, so have fun with that.
Speaking of the heart, that he is immune to any enchantment or mind-affecting ability unless his heart was within 100 feet, because we mentioned that amazing scene where he's, doing his 10 o'clock, show Callisto, I don't care that she dumped me, by playing their song. And the tear comes in his face, and he picks it up with a face tentacle and is like, what the heck is happening?
I did not author it.
Yeah, and it's because they brought those heart on board. That's so good. I love that part.
It's so good. And yeah, so we wanted that to kind of be, because if we could have made it specifically spells that affect emotions, we would have. But that was getting too granular.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't have a heart. He doesn't have emotions. He can't cast cause fear on Davy Jones.
Yeah.
He
can't cast charm.
Yeah. He certainly can't cast friends.
Also, as mentioned, as part of his connection to the ship, he can only go on land once every 10 years, so we have to send the crew. Like, this is a great, like, he is such a beast, but, like, in 2, there is that kind of go-to move of, if we just go on land, we don't have to actually fight Davy Jones himself.
Yeah.
We have to fight his dumb minions. And that's a lot more of an appetizing prospect, as we fight his dumb minions.
Yeah. It's nice if you've got a Darklord who were going on this long about their special power.
Yeah.
There's a loophole to escape them.
And then finally, the power that all Darklords have, the plot device power, except for a couple of our examples, with Prince John.
And kind of Kevin McAllister.
Right, and kind of Kevin McAllister, and a couple others we've done. And that is closing the borders. There's no exception here. He can just close the borders, and he just makes this, it's the same as Treasure Island. He just makes the sea impassable. Like, he makes it so stormy. We're imagining, this is a little bit, we're imagining it's an archipelago. There's island, but it's mostly ocean, and he just makes it surrounded by this massive storm that no one can get through.
We know we're repeating ourselves a little bit with an ocean with an archipelago in it and closing the borders with a storm, but it's pirates.
What else are we going to do?
What else are we going to do if we can't have it be like he's a pirate Darklord of North Dakota?
Yeah.
So that is the main part of our discussion of the Darklord, Davy Jones. We do, in the regular episode, go on to discuss his ideal role-playing trade, Bond and Flaw, talking about what quotes from the franchise we think best fit those things. We do our very bad Davy Jones impressions. Not for all of them, I promise.
We're not so great!
And then we go on, as we mentioned, we talk about the important locations, places like Tortuga, like Shipwreck Cove, like Tiadalmas. We go on to talk about those adventure hooks to bring them in there, and then we talk about running adventures there. And the DM's Guild write-up also, we mentioned the full episode, a table of random nautical nonsense to generate your Pirates of the Caribbean story.
Also, for all my fellow Ravenloft grognards who have 2 copies of the Black Box on their bookshelf. If there are any others of y'all like that out there, hi. There's also a section about how to incorporate some of the older Ravenloft material into Pirates of the Caribbean. So if you're sitting there going, this sounds great, but how do I bring in Draga Saltbiter? We're gonna bring in Draga Saltbiter.
Got you covered. Until then, thank you for listening, and happy gaming.
This has been The Wonderful World of Darklords. We have no affiliation with Disney or Wizards of the Coast. All music recordings used in this episode are in the public domain and were obtained through museopen.org. Titles and links are in the show notes. The Wonderful World of Darklords logo was designed by Haylight Jones. You can find links to their work in the show notes. If you'd like to support the show, look for us on patreon.com or find our tip jar on Red Circle. Thanks for listening.